Alright, we find ourselves on Frost once again. I'm Rifkin, joined by Zombie Grub. You guys are watching, and you had better be enjoying the IEM Cologne Qualifiers, because these have been some pretty good games so far, and there's still plenty more to come. This is a best of 3 between these two Root Gaming players, and let's get into this. Spawning in the lower right corner of the map, he is the New Zealand player. He's yellow, he's Zerg. Give it up for Petraeus!
And in the upper left, as the red Petraeus, it is Root State.
Yeah, it's weird. I really thought State was going to have that game in the bag. You know, he's been training in Korea. He had a pretty good performance over for the Code qualifiers. In all, like, honesty, as much as I love Petraeus and I've seen him perform well in the past, I was like, alright, this is probably going to be like a State game type thing on Polar Night of all maps. But Petraeus now leading, it's a rough spot to be in as a Protoss player, much less in State shoes. But the nice thing is, I'm sure Root Gaming right now, any Root fans are tuning in, they know at least a Root Gaming fan will advance. So there's that positive thing, regardless of who you're cheering for.
It's still the winners too, so technically these guys could both advance.
That's a very good point. This is the winners bracket. It's a double elimination tournament, guys. And a quick recap for anyone just tuning in: only 2 players from today can qualify. Period. So number 1 for the winners bracket, number 1 for the losers bracket. The finals for each of them will be a best of 5. Everything else outside of that is a best of 3. So when I said we got more StarCraft coming your way, I was not exaggerating.
Well, it's Frost. It's usually a map where people feel very comfortable taking an earlier Nexus or Hatch, but only State feels that comfortable, as Petraeus does still go for the 15 pool.
Well, probe on patrol spot right now. You know, again, it's always that horizontal spawn that's the big thing. The biggest deal is knowing where your opponent spawns, knowing which third base is the safe one to take. You never ever want to take that, I guess, I don't know what you would call it, it's the scumbag base. That cliff is just the worst thing to deal with. But cross spawns, probably the best thing that both players could hope for in this sort of scenario.
Probably Petraeus is a little happier about that. Usually if it's a horizontal, the Protoss is kind of like, oh great, my attack's going to hit like, so much sooner. Or I'm going to have that scumbag cliff to put a pylon on, like, all that. But to see if that actually even comes into effect. Of course, the last PvZ we saw, it was just constant warp-ins everywhere. Unfortunately, Frost, while it is big and it usually favors the Zerg player, it also means that Protoss pylons, proxy pylons, can get down and undiscovered for quite a while.
Guys, I gotta say real quick too, if you are in chat, and there's about 5,500 of you, first off, thank you for tuning in, but only about 39 people have voted for their favorite player in this matchup, and it's pretty darn close. The vote is split 46% to 54% in favor of Petraeus. Exclamation mark vote State, exclamation mark vote Petraeus. Let us know who you think is going to take the series, or more importantly, who you want to take this series. I know there's a good chunk of the C people just waking up around now. You got people like Zeph who don't wake up till noon anyways, but if you are, of course, from the C region, most likely going to be rooting for Petraeus. But of course, State's been a, I don't know, kind of the homegrown American hero for quite some time. Wouldn't be surprised to see some love for him.
Actually, one of my friends just said, one of you guys say Petraeus on stream. I think you're saying betray us.
Oh,
like betray US.
How could you betray us?
It was like so un-American. Yeah, exactly. So, anyways, I want to talk a little bit about that last game, as this game still is, heating up, not much is going on. That last game talking about, like, just being surprised that Petraeus is so good. I was surprised by both players being so good. I know that State has had a lot of hype around him, and he went to Korea. He hasn't been there that long, though. So that's, like, why I wasn't really expecting anything. But I felt like watching that, it wasn't just one person surpassing my expectations. It was both people, like, far surpassing my expectations.
Yeah, and this was a pretty balanced series to begin with. Like, you come into these games that I talk about in the past, like, as much as you get hyped for Jaedong, no one really wants to watch Jaedong fight a bunch of best of 3s versus like a Bronzy, right? But when you got 2 players who are going head to head with equal skill and they're both at a high level, those are the most entertaining StarCraft games, in my opinion. Now, I do have some sad information, guys. We're talking all this nice, positive, wonderful things. Capoche has been eliminated. So, unfortunately, he is out of IEM Cologne Qualifiers here today. Sad to see him go, as he did perform quite well in the Sao Paulo ones, but couldn't quite bring it here today.
Not much else going on in the brackets, so let's take a look at the game right now. We do see that there's not going to be any early gateway aggression coming out for Petraeus. He does have 4 gateways, but he is warping all of them in the, at home.
Now that you said it, I can't stop hearing it. Betray us. Betray us. You are the betrayer. Like, cannot unhear. Oh, this one Ling, though, is going to die, but this is the hero Ling that sees that push coming. This is a lot of sentries. This isn't like a poke with one Zealot and one Stalker. This is 6 sentries, a Mothership Core, and that probe's going to put some pylons down, lay the brickwork to get those warpins in, and the Twilight Council, it's not even an all-in. This is just a really aggressive push.
Yeah.
I think he's probably going to save energy for a recall if he can't get away with the damage he wants to get done.
I have to assume so. Just losing that many sentries, just like even thinking about losing that many sentries,
that's so much
is
gas,
a terrible idea for a Petraeus player. So Petraeus, of course, he did see, they both saw each other, right? So State has to know that he's not necessarily going to get awesome damage done. And in fact, I really like this. He's scouting with the Mothership Core, then he brings them a little bit back in case they get swarmed, and just scouts at the Mothership Core. So he knows exactly, what are my chances of, getting out of here doing any damage.
I have such a large regret that we can't stream the chat from today. You guys are making me so happy. The fact that you're all getting so involved with this tournament, even on the bleacher, so to speak, you can show your support for these players. Man, that's so good seeing those names fly. Now, we do have these fights starting up here. A little bit of poke coming out of State. Again, he's got all those sentries unavailable. There's a lot of different areas in which Petraeus can engage this, and a multi-pronged attack is the only way to really take this head on. Because, of course, the mineral line, this weird little crevasse here, I mean, there's a lot of areas that these force fields will just wreck Petraeus in a bad spot.
State being super careful. Oh, the Mothership Core is out of position for a recall. He's got to be careful about this fight.
Lings connect to everything here, too. The force fields are pretty good, but most of the Lings did compromise these sentries. He's got a recall right now. Minimize his losses, but what does he even get away with? The answer is not a lot. 7 Stalkers and 2 sentries died out there on the front lines.
Well, that was the downside of using that Mothership Core, far out, is that it takes forever to get back to your units.
Yeah.
Just imagine it's like running in slow motion through a dream.
Well, Petraeus definitely had a good start there. His army supply is insane right now, but a lot of that's, of course, heavily inflated because, hashtag roaches. Going for that burrow tech again. I wouldn't be at all surprised to see him lean towards those tunneling claws, if he can afford to get those out.
Wondering where that Warp Prism was. There it is. He actually is loading them up, 2 Immortals into the Warp Prism immediately. Generally, this happens when the Immortals already did whatever they had to do, and then they're kind of like dead weight. Then you load up into a Warp Prism. But I wonder if he's going to drop in the main, or if he's using this like preemptively to micro against this attack.
Well, the Immortals are going to get unloaded here, and this is a not bad force fields, but State's fighting way too close to the force fields. Half of these roaches are still shooting over top of them, but he's got some cool control with the Warp Prism. I'll give him that much. One of the Immortals is being tried to save here. Can he pick it up again? Looks like he will, but the other Immortal will suffer because of this. State looks like he'll hold the lines, but man, was that a costly defense.
Kind of a weird choice to warp in with the Warp Prism, being right next to a pylon.
Yeah, panic, right? You just gotta get it down.
Yeah, I guess you're so used to that being on the other side of the map that you just you press the button. But he does still have 2 Immortals. Of course, one went down, but he's been cornering them out as we have as that engagement happened. So he could do some, definitely a lot of attacks again. It is Frost. Looks like he's going to be using that same exact position, pretty much that Huck did, to warp in some Zealots. Although there is no 4th as of yet for Petraeus.
The 2 big differences, first off, Petraeus scouts this, unlike what happened in Zerg Zing Zing versus Huck, and secondly, State is nowhere near as aggressive, and he's not on 3 bases like Huck was, so massive warp-ins are kind of out of the question for the time being. Now, I love these Immortals coming towards the main. I think this is really cool. If he warps in a sentry underneath this, he can force field off that ramp, and perhaps do a ton of damage beyond that, but this is going to be seen coming. Stalker's trying to draw the attention of Petraeus over here at the 3rd base, but looks like he'll fall for it for now, but Lings and Roaches already on their way to the main. Sentries were warped in, but will this even be enough? There's some Roaches coming in. The Immortals are quite a big threat. Cancels the warp-ins, perhaps a mistake. Didn't want to overinvest. Decides to move towards the natural instead.
But gives up 2 free sentries? You gotta be kidding me, Petraeus. You gotta get those sentries.
He doesn't see them. He didn't see them. Okay, now he sees them. No. But he's still not in range, so okay, we'll see if those die. Immortals, of course, dropped at the 3rd base, going to force the attention of Petraeus elsewhere, and looks like those sentries will live. And if State realizes that these are still here, he could go force field off the ramp. And, counterattack going off on the 3rd base here of State while this is going on. Zombie Grub, this is a weird game.
Yeah, I mean, the Warp Prism has joined up with its Sentry Brethren.
Dark
And it's
Templar.
warping in some Dark Templar.
Dark Templar. There's no detection in the main currently, making Overseer is of course not that big of a problem. But if he starts focusing this down, sentries will fall and the Immortals will take out that 4th base. Stalkers at home still can't quite defend State. I don't know what he's doing here, but it's not controlling the Stalkers.
Yeah, no, and he didn't cancel that Nexus either, so that was 400 down the drain. Oh, and the Hatch survives thanks to Transfuses and having those Overseers immediately upon seeing the swipes of those DTs. So lucky there, is usually if you're not, you know, if you're not heavily aware that they're coming, you do lose a Hatch to 4 DTs. But Petraeus so far holding off all three, I don't know how many fronts it was, but all of them pretty well.
Alright, well, one Dark Templar is going to come down here to the low ground. Kind of a cool move. I like that finesse out of State. I'm going to try and focus down the layer by the looks of it. He should be able to get this. The Immortals have so much damage on this.
Yeah, don't even really need the Zealots, but that's one hatch down, and of course that's the layer downs, but he already has all the tech that he would usually need at this point. You know, the Hydrogen is already put down, so...
But it cuts out the economy. This is Petraeus now finally back on 2 bases to match State, who's been behind economically for a long time in this game.
I just assumed he had a 4th. You're right, he's down to 2 base, so that is kind of a problem. Of course, that 4th has been denied over and over again. State's still not onto a 3 base either. It is going to be momentarily, so Petraeus will be looking to cancel this, at the very least, hopefully actually just straight up kill it.
Yeah, and another unfortunate announcement as this game continues on, guys. Looks like Semper was eliminated as well, so really sad to see another player go down, but Petraeus storming the front quite hard. There's 4 Immortals behind this, 5 Immortals behind this, and State's control is looking immaculate. Keeps that 1 Immortal alive just barely. Dark Templar are going to help clean this up. They're going to get scouted, of course, but man, do they hit hard. Finally, though, the sentries have fallen, and there's no more buffer for these Immortals. The Hydralists, if they can connect, can take out the Immortals. If there's no Immortals, the Roaches will just run train over this 3rd base.
State's just automatically, like, mining to his 3rd. Like, all the probes are dying. I'm just like, oh, stop it. But, I guess his background mechanics are, I don't know. They're not good. They're constantly making 3 probes going to the 3rd.
This is more Blink Micro coming out of State. He realizes how low his army supply is. Not out of this though, he's on level 2 weapon upgrades. He's got that much going for him. Everything he hits hard. But the Roaches, I worry about this reinforcement. Taking another awkward engagement, snipes off one of the Immortals. One of these Immortals, by the way, has like 4 health, has been alive forever, but has no kills on it. So I don't know if that's good or bad, but still pushing forward with the Hydralisks. They do get caught in a bit of a time warp, but I don't know. The Immortals, they still hit really hard against Hydralisks, don't get me wrong, but they're not exactly the units you want to throw away into an army of Hydralisks.
You know, this is an expensive army for Petraeus, you know, but it's more expensive for State right now. He's taking out everything what he can. You know, he's not gonna...
Oh, sorry, I was trying not to get interrupting there, but let's see, Dark Temple is warping down here, but Petraeus, you're right, they're equally expensive armies to lose. The key difference is Petraeus can afford to reproduce. He's got the production, not only through economy, but through actual larva and this macro hatchery, whereas State's got like 1 robo, he's got a couple of gateways, he's very limited on how much he can warp in.
Now his 3rd is finally up and running. He did lose 15 probes. Like I was saying, he was transferring them while they were fighting, and I was like, I don't know if it was on purpose or not, but they have been mining for quite some time, but a lot of them did go down. Doesn't really matter, as I guess he still has enough perfectly for 2 base anyways. 54, yeah, so that's fine. It does suck that his main is pretty much entirely mined out, and he does have to hold off yet another push from Petraeus. Now Petraeus, he's gonna have difficulty getting max simply because that 4th has been denied so often, but he's still... I mean, well, if State can break this army without losing too much on his own, he could be okay. I don't know if that's gonna happen.
This is where you really want to see Storms or Colossus or that 3rd tier type of unit, but Force Wells are really good. That allows the Zealots to connect, which unfortunately, without charge, they've been struggling to do this whole game, but the Hydralists still coming in strong from behind. No Guardian Shield available, unfortunately. No more Force Fields either.
This is going really surprisingly well.
They keep nullifying each other. Like, they collide and they both walk away with equally nothing afterwards.
That 4th finally has gotten up for Petraeus too. It's low in oh, actually 2 transfuses making it decently in health, but it is finally up in mining, so he can transfer any workers that he has from any other bases as well. Another attack is coming, but finally State is run out of units. Actually, Twin Stalkers are off, I don't even know where. So they do finally come back for this fight.
Force Fields are good though. They do keep Petraeus at bay, but will they be good enough? Because the problem for State is not a game of holding. Petraeus is expanding behind this. His worker count is 73. Like, there's no counterattacks, there's no more Warp Prism going on, and I really think that's where this game started to fall apart for State. But with his last dying breath, with the intense micro and ferocity of a Korean player, State looks to finally be losing his army here to Petraeus.
Oh, that's going to be it. Even if he warps on anything, it's going to go down instantly. And GG, Petraeus takes the 2-0.
All right, now I believe, first off, congratulations to Petraeus. He will advance to the brackets, but the admin contacted me while we're in that game and said we'll be casting Suppy versus Polt next. So I hope you guys are ready to get hyped